So the first thing I ever bought with a credit card was a smoothie from Smoothie King. From there it was vacations to textbooks and sometimes classes before the deadline. And now, $13,000 across 3 credit cards later, it's finally time to address the elephant in the room. Smoothie King definitely put me in debt. But seriously, I want to talk to you guys about how I plan on paying all $13,000 of my credit card debt within 9 months with a little bit of a beneficial coincidence. The beneficial coincidence is I got married, but we'll get back to that in a bit. So here's a question. How do you know how much you can actually afford if you don't know where your money needs to go and how much of that you have left? It's like putting all your money on blackjack. You have no idea what's going on. You have no idea how to play the game. I've done it before. I was 17, whatever. Creating a budget is going to help answer 3 questions. Where's your money coming from? Where's your money going? And after all that, how much do you have left to do whatever you want to do? For me, I have my main job, my side job, and other small sources of income. And as far as expenses, I have rent, utilities, my car note, etc., etc. Personally, when it comes to my sources of income, I try not to think about my side job when it comes to budgeting, because if I can budget just based off my primary source of income, then that's extra money I can do whatever I want with. But when I did initially budget based on my primary income, aside from paying the minimum payments on all 3 cards, I learned that I could afford to put an extra $100 on each while doing my best to pay off the 2 credit cards that I actually use as I'm using them. However, I do know that there has to be an easier and maybe more of an effective way to take down multiple sources of debt at once, so I might as well look into them. So with that, I learned that there are 2 different options of things that you can look at when it comes to paying off multiple sources of debt. The first is the balance. I can start by paying the minimum of each card and then putting the extra money towards the card with the lowest balance, and then so on and so forth. This method, or the snowball method, is more of a motivational tactic, because as you knock down smaller sources of debt, it motivates you to take that money and put it towards bigger debt and bigger debt and bigger debt, because you're seeing the amount of credit card debts, for example, go away. It's something that can potentially make you more excited, which is a good thing. The other option is not as easy and may require some math, and that's actually looking at the interest rates. So check this out. The average credit card interest rate as of February is about 20%. It's about 6% higher than it was in February last year and has been steadily increasing. With that in mind, it is important to tackle the forms of debt that have higher interest rates, because they're charging you the most every single month, and you can potentially save a lot of money if you do it that way. And that's especially beneficial if the forms of debt that you have all have fairly similar balances. So with that, or with the avalanche method, I would pay off each credit card that I have in order of highest interest rate to lowest, keeping in mind of the balances that each of them have and how much money I'm getting charged in interest every single month. That could actually save me some money over time. Knowing all that, for now, I'm gonna go with the snowball method, subject to change, but one of the credit cards that I have, I don't use, and it has a significantly lower balance than the other 2, but I still have trouble paying that off. So I'm gonna tackle that one first. But back to my beneficial coincidence. So I got married on March 19th to my beautiful wife, and after our honeymoon, she moved into our new home. And from that moment on, all the financial responsibilities I was tackling by myself, we ended up splitting. Because of that, I had to go back to the drawing board, review my budget, and update it, and see what I can actually afford specifically towards paying off these cards. After checking my budget again, I learned that I could put an additional $1,000 specifically towards my credit card. So for now, disregarding the minimum payments I actually put on all 3, I'll put an extra $100 on all 3 credit cards, and then I'll put an extra $1,000 on my card with the lowest balance. Another thing I actually did was I modified how much money I'm saving every single month with the belief that I want to focus more on paying off debt than saving money. So instead of me putting $200 a month on my high yield and $200 a month on my regular savings account, I'm only going to put $200 a month towards my high yield savings because of the yield, and that other $200 will be added to that card of the lowest balance. So that's now $1,200 additional dollars I'm putting on that card. So hypothetically speaking, if I use a snowball method on all 3 of my credit cards from this point on, I can pay off that lowest balance card that I don't use by the beginning of July. Then I can put a total of $1,400 additional dollars on the second highest card and pay that off by November if I don't use it that often and I'm paying for what I'm using before the end of each statement. And then between then and hopefully February, I can pay off that last card, which will be ideally about 9 months. This again is obviously an ideal situation, because that's assuming I pay off the minimum balances of all 3 cards then I put at least an additional $100 on all three while putting the additional $1,200 on each card I'm tackling first, at least the ones with the lowest balances at the time. But earlier I did say that I don't really think about my side job as a source of income when it comes to budgeting. So if I can budget with this alone, then hopefully I'm making enough on that side job to add at least an extra $400 a month or so towards those credit card debts and hopefully get this done within 9 months. Maybe even less. But it really depends on what's gonna happen in the future. I could get a promotion in my next job, other things can happen. I'm just gonna have to make sure I modify that budget anytime something else changes, or at least on a monthly basis, which is what I do. Make sure you guys check this video out and it'll give you some insight on how I actually budget, and maybe it's something you guys can check out as well and start yourselves. I appreciate you guys watching, and until next time, take care.